Mic check 1 2. Oh wow, it seems like it's really loud on there. How does that sound to you guys? I was just having mic problems again. Thank you very much. Does that say Noplinda? Appreciate that. And hey Margaret, how you doing? Glad to see a couple people here. I haven't seen how many people we have in the room yet. I'm going to be starting in just a minute, just working the bugs out really quick. As fast as I possibly can. I've been working on this for a while. How's the audio sound to you guys? Oh, I could hear me that a little bit. My screen says 5 people are in the room. Howdy, 5 people. Howdy, howdy. Sounds good, says Margaret. Thank you very much, Margaret. I need to clean my screen off real quick so I can see what people are saying. All right. You sort of see the rocks shaking on the picture for me cleaning that because it's moving the moving my carving station around. So howdy there. How you been? I've been doing okay. So. Just keep on grinding from one thing to another. I don't know really what to talk about, to tell you the truth, except for stones, because I mean I have a bunch of drama style stuff that's going on. It's not really drama, it's just the regular, you know, okey doke rat race of my life, really, of you know, trying to make it off of one aspect and that not working, so moving to a different aspect and trying to make it. And that's why, you know, I'm back to working an hourly job right now, because at least it can pay the bills, and I can get some insurance, and I can deal with some of these medical problems I'm having. And then, you know, I take these off till I'm grinding, and then I can get my damn license back. Because really, the only thing that's been keeping me from getting my license back is a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and dealing with a bunch of state agencies that just have it out for me for my whole life, basically. That's not hyperbole. So much so that when I went to start the paperwork to get my license back the last time, which is like, you know, a year plus ago, the DMV in Florida will give me an ID card, but they won't let me do anything about my license because according to them, I'm still in prison. I have to provide them with a piece of paper that says I'm out of prison in order for them to recognize me as out of prison, and then I can get a driver's license from them in Florida. And that piece of paper, I'm not the one that fills it out. It's a different state agency that I got released from that fills that out. And when I had that state agency send it to me, and then I send it, and I have to be the go-between, which this whole thing is horrible. This is just the slavery system. And then I send it to them, the paper's not filled out right. And that took me like 3 weeks of talking to people on the phone, to getting the piece of paper, to getting the piece of paper off to the next line, and then getting a response. It was at least 3 weeks worth of time. That sort of stuff is so frustrating to me. I don't want to, I'm sick of dealing with it. Like, I'm so sick of dealing with the system in my whole life in any way, shape, or form. I generally avoid it. And since I've stopped driving, I haven't had police interaction, because when I do drive, police officers follow me for 30, 45 minutes, even though I drive below the speed limit. I use all of my turn signals and everything like that, because anytime they run a registration with my name on it, they can pull up all the police contact I've ever had that's in the NCI. Is it the NCIS system? I think that's the wrong system. I used the wrong acronym. But anyways, it's a national database now that almost every single state's police officers have access to. And the moment they go to run your tag, if your name's on it and you have a record, they can see that. They can see who you are. And then that gives them a determination on how much they're going to follow you or harass you or any of this or that stuff. And since I haven't been driving, I've been stress-free of that. And for somebody who's been, you know, in and out of the system since way before I was 18, not necessarily of my own accord, it's amazing. It's an amazing stress reliever. It really is. It's an absolutely amazing stress reliever not to worry about the car that's behind me or the car that's in front of me. Like riding my bike everywhere, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. There 1,000 times over, having a car would be more beneficial to me. But it also increases my police contact 1,000 times. It really does, because it's the way that they have contact with all of us. It's the way that they feel they have the right to invade your life in any way possible, is if you're behind the wheel of a car. In the hood, I've actually been harassed on a bicycle by police officers, and that was here in Pensacola not too long ago. And that cost me $450 because, once again, it's cheaper to just pay the fucking ticket than it is to fight it. It's bullshit, but it's true. And poor people don't have the time. You can't keep a job and deal with that sort of stuff on a regular basis. It's not a job that's, a poor people style hustle job. Anyways, I'm going to get back to stones because I've definitely digressed off the whole licensing issue. So what up, Lobo? How you doing, man? And let me switch this screen back around again. So these are the ones I've been working on or thinking about reworking on and stuff like that. You see that nice purple and blue on top of that little jelly bean right there. And on the edge over here, I'd gone through it. So I carved below it, and I caught that really great green. On this one right here, it has what up, Rahulio? How you doing, brother? Yeah, a long time no see. I haven't even seen you on Facebook in forever. So as you can see on camera, this has purples in it and red and green. And then up here, I think I'm going to recarve it a little bit because that red is underneath, and that there's like a yellow that's sort of really showing up to the naked eye. It's really yellow. Over here, there's this really thin teal blue with a purple that I caught really good on that edge, but I wasn't able to catch it anywhere else because it's really, really thin. But it's a nice electric. And this stone in and of itself is just really great. Like it's really great because on camera, it's really show-stopping. On a ring, it's going to look really great, but it's really a classic example of the problem with the purple and fire agate. Purple and blue tend to be really electric on camera. I don't say that lightly. They tend to be really, really electric on camera. You can really see all the purple shining through. They don't tend to be real electric to the naked eye, and that's sort of the issue. And what I was working on with these stones, you can see the areas that didn't get polished in the last stage. There's these little areas that didn't catch the polish the way I want it, and so I'm going to go back over them with a toothpick style burr. A toothpick, basically. I mean, I'm probably not going to use a toothpick. I'm probably going to use a piece of bamboo. One of these. Yeah, brother. I've got the knack. I really obsessed for a while, and I've got the knack of catching the colors now. I've got the knack of catching thin color bars, and pulling them out and sort of understanding the stone. Whereas it took me, at least a year and a half, to get to the point to where I felt like I understood what was going on and I quit screwing them up. And don't get me wrong, there's still some times where I go through things I didn't think were going to be there, like once again, this really nice blue and purple, which is really electric on camera, but like I said, in person, it sort of steals the light. It's like it absorbs the light instead of bouncing it back at you. But this is a gorgeous stone. It's going to make a nice size ring stone. I really like it for a ring or even a pendant. It's got a nice bit of wink to it because of the way that I carved the window of red underneath the rest of that. So what y'all been up to? You know what? I should put my phone on so I can see how many people we've got in the room. I totally interact different. We've got 1 or 15. At the same time, once the conversation starts between you guys, it gets really good. Still at 5. Maybe it just keeps it at 5 to not let me think there's nobody. Hee hee hee. It's supposed to be a joke. It wasn't very funny, though. Now there's a couple of stones here that I had already carved that I recarved that I had originally tried to sell for like 60 bucks. This one had come out and popped out of some breakage and it looked like a fish and it was all copper. And I carved through the copper now. It's got this really nice fire red right here. And that red is like winking and streaming over top of green. And this thing is the color is very flashy. It flashes because of the shape of it. See what I mean? Like it has a lot of movement because of the way that it's shaped, but it still looks like a fish head. On one side, I think it looks like a rainbow trout. So I left that little piece on the bottom. And then on the other side, I feel like it looks like a catfish or something, like got another eye and stuff. But stone has tons of movement, but once again, it has little areas that didn't quite catch the polish. You can see a little purple and blue right around the eye too. So yeah, I went to sell this stone for 60 bucks and nobody bought it. And I knew I could carve it better after I really started locking down how I was doing things. And so I recarved this one. And now it's way better than just copper. It's like red and orange and yellow and green with a little hint of blue. Here's a super rare bird. This one has colors in I've never seen before. This has like a magenta. It's showing up really purple to you guys, okay? That's not the color I see with my naked eye. That really purple, it's magenta. To my naked eye, that big strip running through the center is magenta and has hints of pink, and it has yellow and a little light green and some orange. And when I say orange, I mean orange, not bronze. Like it looks a little bit bronze on camera, but that is really orange to the naked eye. And then this green on front. Once again, what looks really purple here is definitely a magenta to the naked eye. It's like a color I've never really seen before in fire agate. It's totally a magenta color. And once again, all of these stones are not quite finished. They need to be taken to their last two polishing stages. But on the second polishing stage, I tend to do, there's cracks and not cracks, there's little fissures that I haven't been able to get into yet that I want to make them better. A nice uniform polish. I actually cut this off of a bigger stone because I could see that color bar in there, and I knew there was other color bars, and so I really have to get a new blade for my saw because using the Dremel blades, man, I screwed the bottom stone up, I'm pretty sure. I think I threw it in a box for something to mess with later. This is another one that was for sale in the Etsy store for a while, and then I recarved it. It was for sale for like 60 bucks or something like that. Now it has a really nice wink, and it's like it has a candy apple sort of pinfire all along this, and then over here it's more like an olive green. When they're talking about the eye fire agate, I've got one here it's really easy to explain on. Before I get to that one, though, I'll talk about that in just 1 second. I want to show you purple. Now, purple and blue, once again on camera, they're amazing. On camera, you see them really, really great. Like you can really see that purple and that blue on top of this one with like a green underneath. But with the naked eye, this is painted on there. Like it's really painted on there. You can really see it, even with the naked eye, but you really have to sort of focus on it. Like with the naked eye, it's not electric like that. It's not, it's like the purple is stealing the light. It's like it's absorbing it instead of reflecting it really hard. I don't get it. I really don't. Anytime I have really nice purples, I'm keeping them on top. But in general, I'm not chasing purples anymore. Really electric reds and yellows and the greens, they scream at people from across the room. Purple and blue, unless they have a magnification clear coat on top of them of agate, a really nice clear agate on top of them, they just don't show the same. So the eye stones. It can be a technique of carving. It can also be the way that the stone naturally laid, because the way that fire agate forms, regardless of how it forms, it's layers, right? When we go to carve them, the colors tend to be in layers, as if you had a bowl of ice cream and you dripped one hard shell on top and then it hardened, and then you dripped another hard shell topping on top and then it hardened. To say you started with chocolate and then you went to vanilla and then you went to strawberry, and they were all hard shells, right? So you could, if you took your time, you could grind or scrape one off and get to the color below it, and that's pretty much what you're dealing with fire agate. Yet at the same time, it seems like when fire agate forms that it's forming in the same way, not necessarily over time to where something's dripping down on top of it, but maybe as a congealed mass where certain protons or neutrons or whatever the hell it would be inside the primordial jelly ooze of whatever the agate forms from, as it coalesces into each other, that they might form like that and they might build up. But there are times where you get a stone that's rounded like this, and you will see a copper swatch on top of it, or a bronze swatch on top of it, and it just covers the crest of the stone. And then you'll see another one lower and another one lower. Well, it's very common that in that top little swatch, you'll have a color bar there, and then you have other color bars below it. So sort of like with this one, as you can see, it's got a blue on top of a purple. There was a green on top of a blue on top of a purple, right? It's possible, if you carve stones just right, to keep a color here and then another color below and then another color below. Most fire agate carvers, unless they run into a really fantastic stone that already tells them, like, hey, that's super, super possible, they're not going to go for that. They're going to go for the super bright, fantastic gem color. But there are certain stones that are already set up to carve like that. They're already set up to where there's going to be a drip of color on it like that. I've pulled plenty of them out of the ground that have, you know, a little eye on top. I'm not sure what's in this bag, but I'm trying to find something that might help. There's a bunch of stuff I've been working on, though. See if I can find something with a little similar eye deal going. Well, here's something that represents exactly what I was talking about with the way it forms, right? So you can see the color coming through. You can see that dot right on top right here. That's a piece of the agate. Now it is possible that on top inside of this there's a different color than it looks like green, which, you know, green's the most green, yes, is the most prevalent inside fire agate, but it's the brightest. It is hands down the brightest color in fire agate. It's the most reflective. It stands out big time. I mean, that green right there on that edge tells you there's a fantastic stone inside of this. And, you know, there might be a red, if there's a little red on there and it's just inside that little dot on top and you carve down to it and then you carve the green out of the rest of it, then you'd have, you know, yourself a little stone like that. And you do it multiple times and you can have a bullseye stone. Now, a lot of what's been coming out in, let me go to my computer and I'll keep talking to you guys and I'll show you what I'm talking about. A lot of Mexican fire agate recently. I'm not sure if I have I might have to make a new window for you guys to see what I'm talking about. Post scene, green screen, BRB. Where is... All right, well, apparently that might be it. Yep, this is it. Cool. So, now it's saying high CPU detected. Now, since I'm using this screen over top of it, you might have a little bit of lag going on in the live stream. I'm not very good at using this from a computer either. Now, there's a lot of fire agate coming out of Mexico that has extremely thin but bright color bars of yellow and purple and green, and they're really, really thin. But there is a couple of people that have figured out how to carve them just right to catch those color bars as they're going down the side of the stone. Because the color bars are so thin, they can't really catch the single layer of color across the whole stone. But what they can do is they can catch the thin color bar just right in order to expose the color like that. And I mean, more power to them. Any way that you can bring out the color. And some of these stones are extremely dramatic. Some of them are why is that in fire agates on? Oh, apparently there's, yeah, this is totally different on here than it is. So let's see if I can find one on this group, or if it's another one. Apparently there's a lot of content that's not available on this group right now. So here you go. Here's a bullseye stone. But once again, you see how thin the color bars are. Like you can see on top of the stone how thin the color bars are. They're super, super thin. I expect that is a piece of Mexican fire agate. I could be wrong. He says the goal is to turn a stone that I like into a stone like I've never into a stone I like evermore. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. With some of these stones like this, when you get them just right, the eye will actually move. It will actually have but that's really, really rare. And in all honesty, in preference for a jeweler's not going to like this stone as much as a jeweler is going to like this stone. Because this stone, these two stones right here, it doesn't matter if they're outside. It doesn't matter what kind of light is in the room. Those two stones are carved perfectly, and they have truly, truly bright color bars in them. Nice. Like that is AAA grade fire agate right there that Glenn has in his hands right here. There's no need for movement. There's no need for different lighting. There's no need for anything in order to improve the stone. The stone does not look brown unless it's dark inside of the room. If there's any light in the room, the stone is reflecting it. Now, with a stone like this, they tend to need lighting for you to see them. And that is, it's in the final quality product is less attractive. You know what I mean? It's great when you have something that winks, but it's not great when you have something that winks if you only see it from a certain angle. So I think I've gone really deep into that one, and that sort of explains a lot on that one. It's a pretty badass stone right there. Now that's a pain in the ass to carve. All right. Let me get back to... I got too many things on here. I didn't... Oh. So I hope that extremely long answer helps. That should definitely, give you an idea on the question that you asked at the very least. Yeah, they're amazing stones. I mean, thing about fire agate is they're very much like opal in that, there are some that will look the same on how the coloring is, but that doesn't mean that they're going to look the same on how the coloring plays. And they're definitely never going to be exactly the same shape. Like the only time you're ever going to find fire agate that's exactly the same shape is never. actually, because of the bubbles that are inside of it. But when I say shape, I mean overall shape, like perfectly round or oval or something like that, is when somebody takes a much larger stone and cuts it down to what they want it to be to fit something else. Like, that's the only way, because this stuff is just, they're snowflakes, man. They really, really are snowflakes, in that when you have a stone that it looks like it's going to be exactly the same on all sides, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be. They're definitely snowflakes. So this stone, for instance, it had the exact same coppery sheen going from top to bottom on both sides. But I started on this side, and over here it had this really, really red, that when the red was over the whole stone, it looked copper. And then when I let some of the green start to poke through and some of the yellow, then it really brought that red out. And you can really, with the naked eye, it definitely shows red. Brought out a little bit of purple and green along this area right here, and then got to the crown of the stone. And as I got to the crown of the stone, everything changed right at the line, right there. Everything completely changed. How the color worked, the way it was coming off, all of it completely changed. It went to more green and then just completely disappeared right here. Like, it was just bronze, bronze, bronze going all the way down to that green. I had to dig down into it, and then it was sort of funny to me because it sort of gave it a similar fish shape like the other side, but in no way does the color look the same. It just doesn't look like, they look like two different stones. I mean, and legitimately, for the way the stone is shaped, if you had a thin enough blade, you could cut one side and the other side, but nobody should do that. Thank you very much. Let's. I'm going to pull out the monster and show you guys this thing. I've been working on it for a minute. Here's the thing about fire agate, and why, like, valuation and price per carat and stuff like that really, really fluctuates depending on what you're looking at and the problem and with that. This is Slaughter Mountain piece. It was a super pain in the ass to carve. It's got a deep well down there. You can see there. That's all color, but I haven't been able to get it polished yet because, like, I need to use something like this to do it, right? So it looked like there was this really bright electric blue. I could see it on the edge over here every now and then when I was trimming the stone down. And so I went for it right on this side right here. And man, that blue disappeared immediately, and then there was like a little bit of purple underneath of it. But then once again, like, you can see it a little bit. If I get it wet, you'll probably see it better. It really went from, like, on the camera, yeah, it's really, really bright on camera. It's not bright to my naked eye. That blue and purple along that edge right there, it looks black. Like, it looked like it goes green, green, and then it flashes to dark. It just doesn't play with my, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm having weird colorblind issues, but it just doesn't look as good as the neon green. I mean, the stone still looks fantastic, and when you get close in, you can definitely see it. But the brightness of that green, especially with the way it's just a deep whirlpool, like, I'm just not going to go for the blue or the purple. I feel like I could just, ruin a fantastic green stone. And I mean, the funny thing is that green's always been my favorite color anyways, ever since I was a kid. Well, I shouldn't say kid. Since I was a teenager. And I mean, this is a fantastic stone. I want to give it its proper polish because of how gorgeous it is. And now I was going to talk about the difficulty in fire agate and, pulling out a really, really great stone. Sometimes you end up working something so many times that there's no way you could possibly make any legitimate money off of it if it's just simply based off of, a 10 or a 20 or a $30, or even sometimes $100 per carat price evaluation. This isn't the stone. I want to use a stone, for example. This stone right here. This stone right here. This stone has super, super thin color bars on it. when you look on the front of the stone, it has a bunch of color bars running down the front. To the naked eye, when carving the stone, it would look like you had a really nice green going completely across one side and then a really nice red going completely across the other side. You can see little bits of blue and purple. Better with the camera than I can with my naked eye. And then I just assumed it was going to go over the rest of it because it's so small. Well, when I cut into it and I keep polishing, just trying to make the back look like this, all of that disappears. Like it just woof, it was gone that fast. And then when I take it to polish, it's got a nice polish on it right now, but the color is all there, but it's extremely angular in the way that it needs movement. Like it's got a really nice hologram effect to it. And with movement, it's really fantastic. Like if I had 2 of these, they'd make a great set of earrings, I think. Having only one, it comes down to, if I cut this again with the way that the shaping is, there's nothing saying that if I get to that really bright color bar that's right there, if I get to that really bright color bar that's right there, there's nothing saying it's going to be any bigger than that little pea size piece on the head of a small screw. And I've already carved this thing twice. I already have hours into it. And for me, this is not what I want when it's top quality. Like it's still a nice fire agate. Like it's a nice stone. It's got real color in it. It's not a dud. You know, it's not a dud. But for something that's similar size, it's also not that. Let me put them in the same hand. Quit waving. See what I'm saying though? Like it's not super. This is as top of quality on color as it gets. It's bang bang from everywhere with any light in the room. This is good. But then again, being me, all I want to do is carve it again, see if maybe deep in there, maybe I can pull some out all the way. But I mean, then I'd have a bunch of hours into it again. Anyways, the thought processes of carving fire agate, that's what we just went through. Every now and then it's nice when you get something like this, where it's just telling you, hey, you know, I've got this nice little color thing up here and this thing down here, but you know, I'm really sort of pretty as a big free form, just fire agate with some color cabochon instead of a hardcore top grade gemstone. You know what I mean? Still a really great, really pretty stone, but not what we want to get into the Opal Hall of Fame, like James Welsh talking about. With opals, sometimes the cutters have to reorientate the stone so the light reflects the color better. Is that the same with fire agate? If you're dealing with a stone like this, no, but you want to, you need to orientate the color as the main thing. You know what I mean? Like orientating the color sometimes with a piece of fire agate can be a pain in the ass because it might look different than it is when you need to cut it down to actually being, you know, the right shape. I mean, pretty much with any of the fire agate, you need to just put the color on top, you know. With opal, it's refraction instead of reflection. You know, with this, it's definitely reflection. You know, I have seen fire agate that has thin candy coats of color on top that the color goes through and bounces off other color and comes back. Those are the rarer ones. The really good fire agate that has it's reflection. It's like bouncing off of the thing that's right there. But I mean, you need to put the color on top. You need to try and orientate it like a stone that a jeweler can work with, like a classic style cabochon or something that has edges that can be mounted proper. Like this one's not right yet. This one's only been polished, it hasn't been orientated yet, and it's not done with its polish yet. It has this really great forest green on top and this little snail trail. And then down the sides, it's like a yellowish green on the sides, not very deep. There's not very much more color down on the lower end, so it needs to be orientated to try and get rid of as much of the typical agate. You know, there's colorful agate, but it's still typical agate. It's not gem color agate. It's not gem color yellow or orange. It's just a yellow or orange agate, like a carnelian color, not a fire agate color. So I need to reduce this and just make it to where as much as possible it can be set in gold, beveled all the way around, to where only the best color is going to show on top outside of the gold. And then you have a piece that's absolutely wow, that, you know, you're probably going to have to convince some people it's real and not a synthetic something or another. That's the idea. That's the idea for most of the best stones I see. You know, the best fire agate jewelry and stuff like that I see, is definitely where all of the non-precious agate, I mean, that's really what I should be calling it, right? You have precious opal, you have non-precious opal. Same thing with fire agate. You have colors in fire agate that are not precious. And it's not because of it's because it's just a regular type of agate, like a carnelian or something like that. And then you have colors in the agate that are precious, that are the vibrant neon opalistic type of painted on colors that we really are attracted to. And the thing is that those are definitely flashy. They are reflective in a way that catches people's eye from a distance, whereas a nice polished piece of yellow or red agate, you can see that it's yellow or red, but it doesn't have that same look about it. You know what I mean? It's just not precious. So you should try as much as possible to get your stone to where it's nothing but precious is going to be exposed once it's set in gold. And as much as possible, us as fire agate carvers should be trying to put out pieces that are going to change people's minds about what fire agate is, or convince them it's as good or better than opal. Because the reality is, as stones go, as gemstones go, it's way better. It's way better. The guy that told me about fire agate the first time, when I didn't know anything about fire agate, said, if you love opal, he said, if you like opal, you're going to love fire agate. And he was right. And he knew why, too. The reason he was telling me is because he's an RVer, you know, that goes around every summer or whatever and digs for opals in Nevada and does, you know, these rock hounding things, and him and his wife, and they have some money and they travel and stuff like that. And then he saw me doing my first few videos out at the Royal Peacock, and I'm in my Ford Taurus with ladder racks on top of the Ford Taurus with a bunch of other camping and digging material stacked on the ladder racks, and all that was bolted through the roof of the Taurus. Like, so he knew. He's like, you know, opals in America are not very stable. Opals in Australia are completely different. If I lived in Australia, I would definitely be going to all the opal towns and be mining with people. I mean, it fits me. I'd be out there cameraman number one, like digging for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like camera and digging. Like, that would be a wet dream. Instead, in America, fire agate is what it is, but this is the beginning. Like, it's just been around for 80 to 100 years. Most people have no idea what it is. The Zales and the K jewelers and all those crappy typical jewelry stores that sell synthetic gemstones to people, they're never going to sell this stuff. They're never, ever, ever going to sell it because it takes too much artistry to carve it. It's too hard to pull out a great stone. It's too hard to take something that's brown and make it look colorful from a distance. You know what I mean? And I agree that it's just too difficult for those places. It's an artisan stone, and it's a stone that has a great variety of quality depending on who touched the stone and when. Not just what came out of the ground. It's definitely much more based off of the locality that the mineral came from, and the artist that's carving it. And anybody, if you're carving fire agate, you're trying to be an artist whether you want to or not. Trust me on that. This is an art form for sure. Howdy, Archangel for Truth. I'm just ranting on the questions that people are giving me. Honestly, I haven't started working at all. I've just been showing off the stones, and I don't even care if I do right now, to tell you the truth. I can come back and carve these later. I spent so much today just trying to get the live stream set up, and then I have to close that store tonight. I'm in training for management, and I need to go and close the store tonight for my first night of learning some of that stuff. And I tell you what, man, the one thing I like about the environment is I have the ability to nonstop move, and my day just flies. I really like that part. I just really wish it was for something that I was a partner in, or where my work ethic was paid dependent on what I got done. You know what I'm saying? Like, people that work and go after stuff like I do, they all would rather have that kind of payment. But that's not going to happen. This is a stepping stone. I need the money. Darkened Shroud says Opal is cooler color palette pattern wise, also being easier to work on, less time consuming. Fire agate is cooler when it comes to hardness and reliability. Also the price point, just my humble opinion. I'd rather the price point go up for carved stones. I'm fine with, you know, rough being whatever the hell it's going to be, because rough is always a gamble, and it's much more of a gamble in fire agate than it is in opals. Opals, you're gambling way less with opals than you are with fire agate on what you're actually going to get out of it, because with opals, anybody who's not an idiot rubbing an opal, anybody who's not ignorant or an idiot rubbing opals, you know, can stop when they get a nice color bar and hold off and have somebody else with more skill go ahead and cut them. Or even once you just rub them, you can sell them for a pretty good amount of money. Whereas with fire agate, you can have fantastic color showing on top, man, and even a skilled guy can screw it up. A really skilled guy, a person that's more worried about the art than the time, is not going to screw it up. But anybody that's thinking about, you know, this thing needs to be done by this point in time, you can't work on fire agate like that. And what you were talking about with reliability, that's the whole thing for me, is that I've spent thousands of dollars on opals, and most of the opals I've bought have not survived till now without ever putting them in any jewelry, just leaving them in my containers and my toolboxes, and just they're not like being bashed around or anything like that, just because that's how opals are. That when opal miners around the world pull opal out of the ground, they sell it. Doesn't matter whether it's Oregon, California, Indonesia, or Colorado. When they pull it out of the ground, they're trying to sell it. And one of the reasons they're trying to sell it, and this is true for the white opal that comes out of Nevada, that highlight opal that they sell that glows in the dark, this stuff won't last a year after you take it out. It just starts to crumble and fall apart because it just has too much air pockets in it. And that's the thing with opal, is that the majority of the opal in the world is fucking garbage. The majority of the opal in the world, if you buy it, I can show you so many pieces I've bought from all over the world that are cracked and crazed. And you know, every time I buy something from Australia, every now and then I get some that's really crazed, or cracked, I should say, because it's not really crazy. With the ones I'm getting from Australia, it's definitely cracked, because, you know, when you talk to the guy, he's like, well, they might have used explosives. You know what I mean? The fucking I blew my opal up before they sent it to me. Just the concussive power of that going through the ground will break an opal without anything being near it. And that's my biggest pet peeve with opal, is that opal is definitely a rich man's stone when it comes to good stuff. And it should be, because it's not an heirloom stone. It's not a stone that you can, you know, just have float around the family. It's definitely a stone that has to be taken care of and treated in special ways. Which, you know, if you can afford a butler, that's great. I trust Australian opals more than I trust anything. I've heard Brazilians are really good, but that's the one opal I have not owned any of. I've owned pretty much everything else in the world except for that. And tons of the stuff I bought after what I've been learning about opal, I decided to cut some, sit on some, and almost everything I've ever bought has fallen apart and turned to crap in a number of years. It just has. It's just the way it goes. So I don't love Opal anymore. I like Opal. I really, really like Opal. And I agree with you on the color patterns thing. The way that you can have, you know, something that looks like fish scales and something else that looks like Chinese writing, and some of the brightness that's in some of these stones. I love that. Don't get me wrong. If it wasn't for Opal, I would have never found out about fire agate. If it wasn't for the channel, I would have never found out about fire agate. All of that is a progress of my understanding in the rock hounding world when I started my YouTube channel. Because although I have all these, I'll say it like what I'm saying. I have all these assholes that like to come on here and like, you're so stupid. Yeah, that's the whole point of what my channel was from the beginning. In case, I mean, anybody needs to be re-educated on that. It was the whole point was, what can you find if you go somewhere knowing nothing, paying a fee to dig? Because you shouldn't go to a place and pay $300 and go and put your foot in the ground and get fucking nothing for it. And that happened to me multiple times, not necessarily $300, but where I followed somebody else's YouTube videos, went to the places he had dug, did what I thought he was doing, found absolutely nothing in a weekend, and then would have the owner tell me, well, that's because that guy was digging with the backhoe. And I'm like, oh, well, I remember the video he was in a backhoe. You mean every time he was using a backhoe? I'm like, well, I'm not going to find anything like that. And that's where the idea for the channel came up, you know, because it was like I was sick of getting screwed, I felt like. So I go to review places and I find out it's not about reviewing, it's about education. Like, us knowing what we're looking at is going to help you find stuff better than anything else, you know? So, yeah. Oh, man, I said Opal and everybody went all fucking crazy. And I can't even, I got to pull open my phone. Hey, 10 people, how you doing? We're just having a shit-talking contest over here. No, there's a bunch of, I'm glad everybody's in the chat now. Hi, everybody in the chat. Wow, it's gone crazy. Okay, as a hobbyist, oh yeah, Resort Dog. Opal's definitely gambling. Yeah, you know, I think it's an unfair evaluate. I think it's what Margaret said, Dark and Shout. I don't agree with you on the color is Opal being cooler. With good fire agate that is carved well, the colors are way better than Opal. Now, the reason I agree is because with a really great piece of fire agate, you don't need any special lighting. You don't need light hitting it. You do not. With some of this stuff, I tell you right now, some of this stuff I've carved, I've caught these angles so fucking great. Any light in the room at all, you can see the color. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's yellow, white, does not matter. As long as there's light in the room, you will see reflection off of these stones. But it's also the shape of the stone that matters in that. Like literally, if it's too domed, then it'll be very winky and have lots of movement. If it's very flat, the color will just be there from all angles like it's painted on. If it's a deep well, it'll really depend on how the colors can reflect off of each other for how your eye is going to see it and play with it. With Opal, it's different than that. So the reason I don't agree is because there will never be a piece of fire agate that looks like it has glitter in it. Never. There will never be a piece of fire agate that you can look inside of and you can see you're seeing inside, and as you move it, you can see those honeycombs flashing back and forth. And I mean, as I'm saying this, I'm live streaming right now. I should be showing it because I have the stones too. But I put everything away. But I have access. And they probably won't even show up. My lights are so bright. I might have to change the lighting in order to have any of this stuff show up. But oh no, my opals aren't here. I don't have any idea where the hell I put them. I don't have any idea where I put the opals. Going to move, you screw everything up. Here's some. Let me find a really couple good ones. Here's a tiger stripe. Here's a honeycomb. Okay, now you know how much I like to partially work on things and not quite finish them, which is, you know, that's how I keep all my stones. You can't really buy them if they're not up for sale because they're not done. Buy my rocks. So, oh yeah, they're looking just fine even with this super bright light. So here's the thing, right? We're never going to see a piece of fire agate that does this. You know what I mean? You're never going to see these play the way that they do off of fire agate. But you have to have the light. If you don't have a light that's hitting it just right, you know, it's just pretty much white. I mean, these are really bright. These stones right here, they're uber bright. You can see them as long as there's lighting in the room. So I agree and I disagree, but I'm 1000% on. I like fire agate better than opal because although these things are absolutely fantastic and phenomenal, there's nothing saying these will be around 10 generations from now if my family is. But I guarantee you that this will be. That this will definitely be around all those generations from now. I mean, as long as it's kept. So that's my reason on that. Yeah, I stopped ruining them. Once I had cut the blacks and they had all started falling apart, and then I cut a couple of more of the whites and the jelly style crystal opals, and they started falling apart, I stopped. And then I waited. And then Pulitzer Opal posted his little thing on Ethiopian opals, or he talked about all kinds of opals. Some of the things he said about some opals are not right at all, but it doesn't matter. It's so minor that it really doesn't matter. But he did. We did talk about, you know, I have to cut. You have to cut. He had to cut his Ethiopians dry, and when he said that, I was like a duh, right? So, you know, I started cutting them dry, and now they look like this. But they're fantastic. They're amazing. I just haven't decided how I want to finish them because of the shapes and stuff. Where is the thing I took these out of? I put it back in the same spot, huh? So yeah, absolutely love opals, but I do like fire agate much more. I mean, another reason I definitely like fire agate much more is in time, people will get paid better for cutting fire agate than they will for cutting opal. And opal cutters, like when you talk to opal cutters that are cutting Australian opals in Australia and stuff like that, they're not cheap. Like they do not cut opals cheap for people. You know what I mean? They cut because they know what they're cutting and they take their time on it. You know, paying for the experience that goes into all of the learning, not necessarily just, you know, the work that's getting done. And I think over time, fire agate's going to be like that because we're really in the baby stages of this stone as a gemstone that people understand. Because in the 80s and the mid 90s, nobody was carving it properly. I've seen all of these heirloom stones. I've seen them everywhere. Nobody had the materials. Nobody had the understanding. Nobody had the products that are around now to carve them. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe Varencourt was around in 1998. Maybe it was around in 1990. Maybe, but from all the stones I've seen, not really. I mean, Richard, hands down, and since Richard, there's been a lot of other people that have come out. There's a guy named Matt, I think Fisher, and then there's another. Actually, there's two Matts. That Donnelly. And he carves some pretty good stuff. And I've seen some of his older stuff. And his stuff now is much better. But that's like the progress of it, right? Like it's all how good you can get at it. Appreciate everybody talking a bunch, even though it's Resort Dog and Dark and Shroud. What are they talking about? Let's see. Again, just my opinion, right? Resort Dog, I've got dry blacks I've never touched for years that are stable. If they're from Nevada, I wouldn't trust they're stable, bro. And if you cut them, cut it dry. If they're from Nevada, cut them dry. I mean, the thing about cutting an opal dry especially when you're new to cutting opals, is it forces you to go super, super slow. It forces you to take more time inspecting it, making sure it's not going to get too hot. Like it changes how you cut it, and it changes what you see in the stone. In all honesty, I think if anybody's going to try and learn how to cut opals, you should hook up some sort of a vac system on your equipment, or work outside with nobody around you and wear a mask. That's what I do when I cut dry. I take my equipment outside on my back porch and I put a respirator on and I cut them out there, and then before I come in I blow it all off with my shop vac. I don't even suck it up, I blow it off. But cutting the stone dry, because the water's not running over the stone, you can really see what the stone looks like, and it really gives you a better understanding of how your pressure is working on the stone, and what you're doing with the stone. So if anybody wants to learn how to cut opal, I would get opal that is not precious, and I would cut that dry so you can see how everything's going. You have a better understanding. Then when you go and turn the water on, because you're going to have that bit of an education that you gave yourself, it's going to go smoother for you to get to a final good product. Resort Dog, Minitabi was infamous for crazing. I've heard lots of excuses for it just being fragile and temporary, but it's the best temporary color possible. Drark and shout, I'm broke, brother Caleko, and I have a nice sized collection. Just need to approach it the right way. I'm broke too, bud, and I got all these fucking rocks. I mean, like, so when I talk to people, I talk to people about my hobbies, and I talk to people about the stuff I've tried to get off the ground that hasn't quite worked out the way I'd like it to. I mean, they always ask me, well, this person just asked me what I was doing at the place I was at. It's freaking hilarious. Like, people that haven't tried too many things in their life think that because you have knowledge of something that you should be making a lot of money off of that. And I'm definitely finding in my life that's not how that works. The people that are great at making money off of things are not necessarily the people that are good at those things. They're the people that are good at making money off of those things. And that's what I've really found out with a lot of things that I've dedicated my focus to. I've gotten really, really good at them. And I've seen people that are not near as good at them as I am making tons of money off of them. And I can't figure that part out sometimes. So I like selling products, right? Checking everybody's comments right now, looking for something else. Hi, Cherie. How you doing? Yeah, don't buy opals online. Especially don't buy stuff from fucking eBay that has like a really... Don't buy fire agate like that either. If it has a really good picture and then it's telling you that you're going to get a selection of something, that's you don't want to buy that. You're not getting the picture. I don't care who the fuck it's coming from. They're not sending you that picture. They're not sending you anything that's like that picture. It just doesn't happen like that. Unless it's got like some color and a bunch of scratches on it or something, like they've been sawing it, because that's how a lot of these guys from Mexico and stuff like that, what they'll do is they'll take a piece of fire agate and they'll try and cut it right where the clear line is on a saw, and then they'll see that and they'll see another line and they'll just try and chop to where they'll get, you know, sections of cut agate to where you can see a window of color in it and you can see the really deep saw scratches on it. And this does give people stones. Like, this does give, but I've rarely seen something in person that's cut like that I would want to buy, because typically if you do see color bars, the scratches are so far deep through them. The only times I would buy stones like that, especially from Mexico, is if the color bars have not been touched by the scratches at all and you can just barely see that there's even fire agate probably in this stone, just as a hint. Oh, Everybody's just having a great chat and time. I appreciate that. I always like it when the chat's blowing up. It's good. It always makes me uneasy if I'm having a live stream, there's not a bunch of chat going on. Resort Dog, I'm happy if the current person likes it to buy it. I completely understand that thought process, man. If I was in... What people keep telling me about getting out of Florida is right. Because if I was in a rock area, I would be moving a lot more of my stones. I've gotten horrible at self-promotion on this sort of aspect. And I honestly feel like I was better at it when I was younger or something. I don't know. Yeah, something happened on the self-promotion thing on that. I need to get better at promoting my art. Yeah, Pulitzer's fun to watch. I didn't watch his recent one because he did his little Biden joke and stuff like that. Like, I'm so sick of the right and I'm so sick of the left in general. Like, I want to talk about issues, but you know what? Fuck your Republican ass and fuck your Democrat ass, because they're the same goddamn party, and you guys pointing fingers at each other and thinking there's anything fucking different. You're the dummies. Just saying. Like, sorry. The moment he put the whole and I know Pulitzer and I know it's a joke, but I just couldn't watch the video. Then I was like, fuck, man. I'm just so tired of having my attention yanked by political garbage and these talking heads on TV that are so inflammatory about everything. Can you believe this on the right? Can you believe these idiots on the left? It's fucking shut up. I just want to slap all of them. I would kill for somebody to be as dry as Walter Cronkite used to be back in the day and just be like, this is the news of the evening. Yeah, there was definitely some propaganda that slipped through and got in there, but it wasn't because it was his political opinioned propaganda. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it from TYT. I'm tired of it from Fox. I'm tired of it from CNN. And I don't want to see it anywhere else. When I see it anywhere else, it triggers me in the way that makes me not want to have anything. Bleh, gag reflex. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. I love Pulitzer Opal, though. He's fucking great. He's a genius. His editing is fantastic. And his stories and his jokes, like, that's an amazing dude right there. Like, he really is an amazing dude. Just to be clear. Be surprised what you can do with dried in glycerin opals. Now, I haven't heard that, but everything else I've heard that sucks the water out of the opals just cracks them really bad. I don't want to treat anything. I don't want to stabilize anything with epoxies or anything like that. I did it in the past. I don't want to. Like, if it's not hard enough, it's not hard enough. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody ever tests anything that comes out of my hands and they decide to grind it on a wheel, I don't want it to ever smell like something synthetic. So I myself, I'm veering away from that sort of stuff. Any sort of worrying about treatments and stuff like that. If I'm going and I'm going to dig opals in Nevada, then, you know, I'm hoping I get a big ass limb cast, or I'm hoping that I get something that's really bright that I just stick it in a fucking jar and leave it in a jar because it's really pretty on a shelf in a jar. I'm not trying to turn something that's not gem grade into gem grade anymore, because, you know, I've paid for stuff like that and I've had it degrade and fall apart. I've had the epoxies come off of the exteriors and then things craze out. It's just not as somebody's trying to put out art, it's not what I want coming from me. What I want coming from me is that when you buy something coming from me, if it's a stone I carved or it's a ring I made, I want it to be something that your great-great-grandchildren can have if you give a fuck about it like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want coming from me. I want coming from me something that's going to live much past my lifetime that somebody might care about. That's what I'm driving for in what I'm carving and stuff like that. And that's why I stopped with the hurrying, and I stopped with worrying about what's getting done at what point in time, and why I went and got a regular 9-to-5 job, because I have to pay the bills, but I don't want to put out inferior product. And I want to start getting into goldsmithing, because just carving the agate's not good enough, and I don't have a partner that makes jewelry yet. So I've done a lot of research, and about $5 grand, man. I'm ready to start making gold right now. Like, you know, remanufacturing gold into jewelry. It's not rocket science. It's definitely art. Resort dog, I'm seriously looking at retiring to crafting, right? Druck and Shroud, Aussie's so lucky, gold fields aplenty and opals galore. Yeah, don't let the TV fool you. You know what I mean? If it was super easy, everybody'd be doing it all the time. And I'm sure that there's a lot out there for people to go get. I mean, there's a couple of Americans that have gone there and apparently are doing really good on TV. But, you know, you can't really trust the TV show hype. What, is that the screen it's on? No, that's not the screen it's on, huh? Okay. For some reason, I thought it was on the holding screen I had set up. Yeah, Resort Dog said, but the flies. No kidding, huh, man? The flies. And every time you see anything in Australia, they're like flies attacking their faces. And these Australians are so used to it, they don't even wave them off most of the time. They just let them get what they need. Like, let them take the salt and take the water and go about their business. Sheree says, opals are so far away from me. Yeah. Yeah, I can't burn too much today, Dark and Shroud. I have to go and train for management duties tonight on closing the stores. I got to get my license back. Literally, I would have already had a job paying $60K if I had a goddamn driver's license. It's so sad. Nobody wants to hire you even if you can make it to their shop or their business or whatever. Every day on time, nobody wants to hire you for a job that has nothing to do with driving without having a driver's license. Doesn't the past criminal 10-year ago history didn't matter. Not having a driver's license, like, absolutely. Like, yeah, we can't hire you. Like, you'd be surprised how much more I will show up than the average person to a place to make money on a bicycle than everybody else you know on a car that's going to have excuses. Me, if I get up in the morning and I go to leave on my bike, which I always leave early, and there's a flat tire, I'm not going to call in and not be there. I'm going to call in and say I might be a couple minutes late, and then I'm going to walk and jog my happy ass to work because I'm already used to being outside. Like, it's just, I understand why most people think about this. And if this was 10, 15 years ago before Uber and Lyft, I would be on that page. But with Uber and Lyft now and so many people driving it, and now there's more cab companies that are popping up that are not Uber and Lyft all over, it's easy for me to get anywhere I want to. And a bike is faster than most things, not my own car. I like labradorite. Yeah, everybody likes labradorite because of the flashiness of it too. Labradorite's pretty cool. I like, you know, you can get it pretty cheap if you buy a bunch of it. Let's see. Yeah, I bet you do. It's nice, cool weather for that right now, Resort Dog. I would go and get some rocks. I have a problem selling fire agate online, but I probably don't sell it cheap enough. I'm just not interested in selling. Let's put it this way. I've had great boxes I know go out to people, and then I've had complaints from the people knowing they didn't carve it, knowing that they're just expecting that they're going to take this rock and go to a jewelry store and sell it. And I even had one of my first patrons like a couple of years ago start screaming at me about the box that I had sent him for his grub stake that he'd sent like $150 or something like that. And I sent him like a piece of everything. And he really wanted fire agate, and I didn't get much fire at all. And I sent him the biggest hunk of fire agate that I'd gotten. And he apparently grinded through the whole thing on wheels and did not find one stitch of color, and he was really pissed about that. And then he took the opals that I sent him from Nevada, and they were wood, they were conch wood, and they were epoxy coated, and he took them to a jeweler in Britain. I think it was Britain. It was the UK somewhere, I think. And he wrote me this scathing garbage and started going all over YouTube and posting up him and his wife about what a scammer I was, and how no jeweler in the world would work with a piece of conchwood because it had so much epoxy on it, and how the fire had no color and I must be an idiot because it wasn't even fire agate, which it came from the fire agate mine. I was so green to fire agate, I don't know if it had any color in it or not. But the fact that he would take the stuff to a fucking Zales or some such like that in the United Kingdom and think that those people would be interested in buying his stones is the highest of ignorance and stupidity. It really is. It's insanely dumb that he would even think that. I challenge any of you to take any nice stone in your house that's not a faceted stone, not faceted, anything. Take it into a fucking regular jeweler. And I'm talking one you find in a mall. There are small local jewelers in your town that will probably work with anything you bring them, but all you have to do is go into their shop and ask them if they actually manufacture jewelry in-house. Do they have a jeweler that they work with locally, like in the state locally, that manufactures jeweler for them? Because if they say no, you're dealing with another Zales. They have somebody that'll size stuff, but that's different. Somebody that'll size something is not the same thing as somebody that's going to do gold metal smithing. You know, metal smithing in any way. It's just not the same thing. It is the same thing, but it's not the depth of the same thing. Like, he's not going to make a wax cast and form it all fresh and use ideas and create some piece of art for your original. It's not the same. So you can take anything to somebody that creates jewelry from scratch and they could probably find a way to work with it. You take anything that's not faceted to a classic mall-style jewelry store, they're not going to know the first thing what they're looking at. They're not going to know anything about it. It doesn't matter how pretty it is or what it is. They're not going to know anything about it unless it's a calibrated, typical size they're used to working with that they can go into their book or computer now and flip to it. It's going to be like 10 millimeters by 5 millimeters by 3 millimeters deep oval. Yeah, there we go. That's the one. Like, it's just silly. Hello, Raw Dog Pendants. I saw you in there. 13 people in the room. How you doing, 13 people? Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with putting opals from Ethiopia and anywhere inside of liquid-filled jewelry of some type. I mean, that's as honest as you can get, and it prevents anything from really being broken until they break the glass. So, I mean, necklaces and stuff like that made of glass and filled with that and water, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's legitimate. Resort Dog, you're going to metal detect the old big nugget districts with a new detector? Take me! I want to go! Yeah, right. Raw Dog's like, I have 2 detectors, I found a few nuggets, and now I've got a dredging system and a high banker. Yeah, I would do something like that too. Lab sells great, as does rose quartz. I actually still have a bunch of rose quartz that can be cut into stars. Resort Dog, I was insulted my wire wrap was unsellable crap. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm not doing wire wrapping. I'm not wasting my time on that art form. I see people that are really great in it, but I don't see it as something that wire wrapped pieces are going to be something that increase in value over time. I see it as something that most of those, even when they're good, are going to end up being lost or melted down at some point because they're just so fragile. There are some people that make exceptions of that, but I've seen a couple of artists that went from wire wrapping and then started learning different types of working with metals and stuff like that, from piecing stuff together and soldering and grinding to lost wax, which I like lost wax. To me, I mean, it just makes sense. Especially nowadays, it's possible with 3D printers to print things out. Like if I could get with a person that could get me the type of app that could shoot a 3D picture of the stone, I could then take that 3D image inside the computer and put it inside of a 3D image of a ring and then have that 3D printed and then wax cast that, and even wax cast multiple of them, and then I could print the ring anytime I wanted to, over and over and over again, if I wanted to. You know, that's totally possible. Just bought a vacuum chamber and cactus juice to see how that works with opal in wood. Greed does make people not listen when they buy. I got 1/3 cost of my diamond from another dealer, not a buyer. Greed does make people not listen when they buy. They see something they think can be worth 50 grand. You'd be like, it's going to break if you take it out of water. Maybe it won't. Like, I know I'm the same way. I was the same way when I first got out there. Hello, IRV. I'm just getting down the chat. Raw Dog Penance. Let's all go smash the like button. Mine says 7 likes. Appreciate that. I mean, it's not like that matters anymore. They're taking away the dislike button. That shit pisses me off. How do you guys feel about that? I think that's bullshit. I think we should downvote bad videos. That's what everybody's been doing. I've never seen a video that was disliked, bombed, that didn't have it coming. Never. I'm sure there are people that have been targeted. There are YouTube channels that have been targeted by groups or whatever that have like disliked them. But I've never actually seen that. I've only seen ideas people hated that have been produced dislike bombed a whole bunch. You know what I mean? I've never seen a good video with a whole ton of dislikes. I've only seen idiot, dumbass crap that's just like, why? Yeah, these people are right. That guy's an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, leave the thumbs down button. Hey, what up, Matthew? How you doing, man? Yeah, I'm definitely ready to get back in the groove of that too. I've had some. Yeah, I definitely need to get back out there. I'd like to move to New Mexico soon. My friend is working on some stuff for us. We're talking about getting together and starting up a rock shop and a general store in a small town in New Mexico that has, you know, the generations that started, or the last generation there, is sort of getting too old to keep their shops open and stuff like that. And it seems like a really great opportunity. It's 9 hours from the mine. It's like 6 hours from Las Vegas, and like 5 hours from here, and 5 hours from there. It's like a bunch of hours from everything. It's centrally located. It's a very small town, but it would be working with people that are like-minded with me in music. We're really good friends. He's much more intelligent than I am. I mean, much more. And I don't mean like just because he's educated. I mean, the way he thinks. This dude is smart. I really like him. We have great conversations for hours and stuff. I like talking to people that are smarter than me, you know, and it's evident they're smarter than me. Now, once again, I'm not talking about just because they're educated in something, but I mean, the dude is fucking wicked smart. be proud to partner with this guy. When I've thought about that, there's like 3 people I've met in my life to be like the top 3 people I would ever want to be business partners with, and he's one of them. My other buddy Brent is the other one, because they're people I look to when I need somebody to give me advice on anything. They're the people I go to. You know what I mean? People I respect the most. And I really would like, I want to do that digging thing, Matthew, but the whole thing about moving out to Mexico, that's the next step, I really believe, because me and him have the same dream, and he needs to keep up with what he's doing for the Forestry Service, and his girlfriend, she needs to keep doing what she's doing. They need somebody that can manage the property and can manage the store. And he's big into minerals, and he wants to start a rock shop. And we've been mulling our ideas over together for years now about what I would do if I had the space to do my dreams of being able to sell people minerals and information and stuff like that, like how I would do if I had my own rock shop that was highway accessible and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping that happens, and I'm really hoping I have my shit together to make some sort of that happen soon, because I would really, really like, the ability to create something from scratch with people that are like-minded as I am. Wire wraps are for a limited amount of collectors. It may grow, but I've seen sitting on some wire wraps for 3 years now. I seem to sell silver jewelry with natural stones better. Yeah, see, I absolutely agree. I agree with you on that. Silver goes fast because it's more inexpensive. Honestly, there are some stones I have no problem putting in silver that I'm carving that I just don't think are going to turn into what I would like them to be. But with my stuff that's coming out like neon colors, I don't want to put it in silver at all. I feel like I'm devaluing the stone, and I'm doing my art a disservice at that level, because I see stuff like what Glenn has put out over the years, and that's what I want. I don't want anything less than that kind of a quality. I want the best of the best in the world coming out of my hands, if at all possible. And I'm willing to redo a stone 15 freaking times to make it like that, if possible. Because I keep putting something as if I'm ready to sell it, and then I pull back and I do something else with it again. And that's why I can't have my art dictated by time. You know what I mean? Can't be dictated by time. One stone might take 2 hours to 5 hours, and I might spend 100 hours on a different stone that might not even be as big. Just depends. What do you mean he agenda was getting blown out in dislikes? I don't know what you mean by that. You mean Biden's agenda was getting blown out by dislikes? I don't think that. He has nothing to do with YouTube. YouTube's not making any decisions based off the fucking president. Guarantee that shit, trust me. Yeah, right. Raw Dog's got it right. It's the same as voting anymore. It's steered where they want. We're limited with basically 2 choices, and they just need to take away one more. Right? It was really good, because we all know that I really love YouTube as a learning tool, as an information tool. It's the most amazing thing to me, and it's really helped my life in obscene ways, me being able to fix things, and people putting their information on here that's helped me not create other mistakes, or information I could never find anywhere else, or I would not be able to absorb through a book that somebody's showing me. I understand it. And there's a lot of videos where I would go to look for something, and the dislikes would let me know it's not going to be helpful. And that is a true fact that happens millions of times a day, guaranteed. It's impossible for it not to on YouTube. Them taking away the dislike button, it does 2 big things. Three big things. It takes away one of our options to express ourselves with a very simple click. It makes it to where people that are looking for relevant information can't see how the general populace feels. They can't really see if it's really helpful or not. And it does exactly what he's saying. It alienates people because you get us used to a system that actually works. Like, that system actually works. It's not being heavily abused. It's crazy to act like it is. That system actually works pretty well. And then taking it away, all that is it just makes us distrust the system. Like, it's horrible. It's a horrible move by YouTube, and I hope they about face on it. They've done that before. They have made it to where they're going to make something the way it's going to work, and then they've changed their minds because everybody's like, no, and that's what's going on with this taking away the dislike button right there. Nobody's in for this. It's not Facebook. Nobody's being bullied with the dislike button, and it's bullshit to act like they are. No, I have not heard from Iron Man Jasper. I'm not sure who that is, Raw Dog. James Welch, rich from Tapping Inc., has his channel demonetized by YouTube. They just stopped paying him, but still run ads on his videos. He asked them to remove his videos, and they refused. He can remove his own videos. He can totally delete his content. Nothing is stopping him from deleting his content. So, just to be clear, that guy can delete his content from YouTube, because I've done it multiple times. I've not just hidden it, I've deleted content. And it tells you once it's gone, it's gone. Once you delete it, it's almost impossible for them to get it back. Now, I've heard that YouTube has been able to restore some people's channels that have been deleted by third parties that had got their information. Now, the thing about them running ads on his videos, even though he stopped running ads on it because they're demonetizing him all the time, that has to do with they made a decision over a year ago that they're going to run ads on every video on YouTube, pretty much to varying levels, regardless of whether you're going to get paid or not, because it's their platform. That's the decision that was made like a year and a half ago, and they notified every creator of it. I got notified of it at least twice. So that's not a new thing. If he's not making money off it, doesn't mean that other people aren't going to make money off it. But when they demonetize a video, that tends not to have ads on it at all, because it's saying that it's not relevant or it's not suitable for advertisers. So what's being said right there sounds a little bit fishy, because on every single video where I've been demonetized, there's not ads playing on that video, and almost nobody sees it. I mean, like 10% of the normal people that would see it in like 48 hours. Like, I mean, nobody frickin' sees a demonetized video, and I've been dealing with that garbage for years. I've been demonetized, and I know exactly why. I know one guy that kept reporting my videos every time I'd post them up, and then they would take them down. He would say they were inflammatory. He would say they were harassment. I would get stuff saying that they were dangerous. Like, I mean, if one person decides to single you out, and I'm a fucking asshole in real life, man, I'm telling you right now, me and you will get along great until the moment where I think you're trying to get over on me, and I won't let you, and I will be ready to fight you hell or high water. I don't take shit. I take a certain amount of shit, but after I'm done taking that shit, I'll fight you to the death to get you the fuck away from me and not deal with your bullshit anymore. Seriously, I'm not even playing. It's just how I am. So, in real life, I don't keep a lot of people around me as friends, because I know what they're worth. I know most people around me are not going to be my friend when I need a friend. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm honest with people, and people don't like honesty. Nobody wants you to tell them they're fucking up. They want you to be nice to them all the time. I'm not that guy. I'm not. I'm your asshole friend that tells you when you're doing something stupid and hopes you're going to fix it. I mean, I want friends like that to be like, yo, bro, too much right now. I need friends like that in my life. I don't need sycophants. I need people that give a fuck about what's going on around them. And that's what I am. Somebody around you that gives a fuck about what's going on, to the point of being an asshole and being a mean unintentionally. Oh, 100 up and 10,000 down? I didn't know that was going up. He says the White House has a YouTube channel, and every time Biden gives a report, it gets like 100 thumbs up and 10,000 thumbs down. Well, I could see that a little bit as bullying because a lot of fucking Biden supporters are fucking idiots. They don't know shit about Biden. Like, no offense if you're a Biden supporter, but if you didn't know about Biden, or you didn't care what you knew, sort of like a Trump supporter. Like, a Trump supporter didn't give a fuck about what a piece of shit Trump has been. They didn't care that he's been screwing people over for years. They didn't care about all the workmen that have worked on all of his buildings, that he's found ways not to pay them for the work that they've done. He's a piece of shit. Trump supporters don't care. Biden supporters that actually support Biden don't care to engage on stuff like that. So they're not going to give thumbs up. They're probably not even going to see any of that shit on there. They're out doing their bullshit, garbage, political crap. Has nothing to do with that. Trump supporters, on the other hand, they're still villainously angry and engaged on everything. QAnon fucking morons that still think there's some shit that's real about that, instead of they got sucked into a LARP and don't even know what a LARP is. The reality is I can totally see that just being Trump supporters. At the same time, I don't believe that's true. The reason I don't believe that's true is because Biden's a fucking piece of shit. Biden was a piece of shit years and years ago. I mean, in 1999 with the RAVE Act, this is the thing that pisses me off and why I even knew who the fuck Joe Biden was. He started the RAVE Act. He went around the whole country championing for the RAVE Act. And the RAVE Act was really simple, right? It was where they arrest anybody that owns the building for rave parties if they catch somebody inside there selling drugs. Basically, if I'm inside of your rave party and I get caught selling ecstasy, then they can come and arrest you and give you the same charges as what I got charged with for selling the drugs in the venue because of rave music. That's why it's called the RAVE Act. It literally circles around rave music and drugs. Ecstasy, typically, LSD, that sort of stuff. Biden got this shit enforced. And when he got this shit enforced, Club La Vila in Florida, not too far from me, had the MTV Spring Break every year. You guys have to know what this is. Everybody, it was like the biggest thing on the planet for Spring Break. And Pauly Shore's out there, and they got bands and music and pools with waterfalls and all of this stuff. They arrested the guy that owned that club under the RAVE Act. And MTV wasn't at that club anymore. And the moment that happened, almost every club that was doing any sort of electronic music in the whole United States stopped. They quit. We don't do rave music because of that. Because no owner that's just trying to have shows at their venue is trying to get arrested for somebody else dealing drugs in there. That wasn't happening at hip-hop shows, wasn't happening at rock shows, just with rave music. Joe Biden is the fucking pastor from the movie Footloose. Yet in 1999, on a nationwide scale, it's insanely stupid. It's the craziest dumb shit I've ever known in my life that this actually existed. And the fact that a whole bunch of people that I knew back then, all the way up till now, that are all into rave music don't know this happened because they live on the West Coast, in one area of the West Coast where they didn't pay attention to any of that. Portland, Oregon, this shit never went on there. They kept doing music and parties and all that shit there. It never affected them, pretty much, is what I ended up finding out. All these people don't understand, like, how can you think that guy has anything to do with freedom, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's a better or worse pick. I mean, he's a worse pick because he has no ability to even run himself. He's too geriatric. I mean, that's just real. But him not being some monstrous politician, he's absolutely a monstrous politician. He's just as monstrous, as bad as all the rest of them. And Trump is too. He's just more selfish. I mean, he cares about, what he looks like more than anything else. And what he looks like on an aggressive scale towards his base. I mean, that's what the whole religion thing was. That was hilarious. Yeah, so I could totally see that that's happening with Biden, but not necessarily because of Trump, because, I mean, he's a fucking douche nozzle. It's a Jasper with the suit colors from the Iron Man 2 movie, gold, red, and gray. Cool. When is YouTube removing the dislike button? I have no idea. I hope they change their minds. Getting rid of the dislike button is a horrible idea. I mean, I have like 3 people that watch my videos. It'll be a perfectly great video, and I get dislikes on a video. There's no reason there should be a dislike on some of those videos. You know, everybody has a hater here and there, and I guarantee you I have a fucking hater here and there because, like I said, I can be an asshole. I can be an asshole of the highest order. I can be an asshole that will ask you if you'd like to be slapped in front of all your fucking friends, and then do it if you say yes. I'm that kind of a prick sometimes. Not very often, but I have actually done that. I forgot. I don't think they're... I hope they don't remove the dislike button. Everybody gets dislikes on some videos. The nicest guys with great videos, I see dislikes on their videos, and they're fantastic videos, and I see dislikes. I mean, people are petty. Still, you shouldn't take that away. I'm sick and tired of companies like Apple taking something away just so they can give it back and be like, hey, look what we did. No, you didn't do anything special. You fucked me. And now you're just writing the fact that you screwed me over. That's all you're doing. Like, oh, you're giving me stuff back on the MacBook? What about all these years you took it away? What do I get for that? Like, that's how I feel about it. I should probably not yell. I got a mic right here. Drunk and Shroud, but I'm the same, but I tend to sugarcoat it and relate when confronting. I'd like to kill with kindness. I like to kill. I could really do more of that. I'm really nice to people when I'm interacting and there's no stress and it's just like an instance meeting and stuff like that. But then when there's shit that needs to get done and it's busting ass, I'm just curt and I'm to the point, and you know, some people just can't handle that at all. Yep, I agree. They are all pieces of garbage for the most part. I know I'm on a few of them that aren't, but I think that they went straight from college into politics, and so they're really disassociated from the realities of most life too. Realities of most poor people's lives. Yeah, see? Archangel Rave Act, civil asset forfeiture, contempt of court, all shit, right? And I agree with Dark and Shroud on that one too. Oh, Matthew Kocher I'm saying it wrong. The dislike button is still going to be there. The creator is the only person that can see the amount of dislikes. I mean, that's actually, I thought they were taking it away. So yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, I want to say it's not a problem, that we're just not going to see the amount of dislikes, but it's a problem for people that are searching for good information. I don't want to watch 10 videos to get the piece of information I'm trying to get. Yet, if I'm scrolling down the first page on something I'm trying to learn, and I can find one video that has an obscene amount of likes to it, that's usually a great video to learn from. I mean, that's a static thing in YouTube, and that's been here since the beginning. Something that has a bunch of dislikes, that could be just a waste of time, especially when you're trying to learn something. It's a good one. Archangel Protrude says, I want a fucking idiot button. That's what we need. Is this video helpful button? Or is this guy an idiot button? On my first videos would have been plugged with that button. Idiot, idiot, idiot. That button would have been all fucking... every rock hound that actually fucking rock hounded. Drag Shout hits the like button because he deserved it. Thanks, man. Like now, Raw Dog says like now. It says 10 likes and 6 dislikes and only 10 watching. If I have 6 dislikes right now, which it's not showing me that at all. If I have 6 dislikes right now, that's because I was talking shit about Trump, guaranteed. I could say how much I hate Biden to a Biden fan that probably wouldn't give a fuck that much, but you tell somebody that loves Trump you hate him, and they feel like you kicked them in the fucking balls. I mean, I love my great aunt. She disassociated with me for a minute because of how much she likes Trump, and I think he's a fucking idiot. Why do we have 70-year-olds leading our country? Who thinks this is a good idea? 70-year-olds. Have you had a conversation with a 70-year-old if you're below 65? There are some 70 to 90-year-olds that are really with it, but the majority are not. They are not really with it. They are really stuck behind it in some other decade. They're stuck. I mean, my great aunt still thinks that Jane Fonda had POWs killed by passing notes or not passing notes. I mean, that shit was debunked 25 years ago. It's not true. It didn't happen. You can't tell her that. She'll have a fist fight with you over it. 70-year-olds shouldn't be leading our country. There should be a cutoff. It should be like between the ages of like 35 and 65. You shouldn't be allowed to run over the age of 65. Period. You shouldn't. You should not be allowed to be in public office over the age of 65. If you made it to 65, go dig some fucking rocks somewhere and get out of politics, please. Yeah, Facebook is the worst. John Welch says Facebook is the worst. They censor everything. They don't just censor everything. People will report you for not saying nothing, for saying something that's not harassment or negative at all. And then Facebook will ban you for like 3 days or a week or some shit. Like, I've only had a couple, but I've seen a lot of people that have been banned off Facebook for shit that's not that big of a deal. I dislike Facebook. I dislike Twitter. They give the political atmosphere and the corporations too much fucking power, and they don't leave freedom of speech alone for obvious people, for proven people. Like, you should have to almost prove on these social sites that you're an actual human being, and then freedom of speech should be there. You should allow to be your dumb fucking self, your dumb ass self. You should allow to be your stupid fucking racist self. You should. I absolutely believe that. But that doesn't mean I should have to listen to you, just like in public. You should be allowed to stand on the street corner and yell all the insane crap you want. That doesn't mean I need to stand there and listen to it. The moment you try to make me stand there and listen to it, I get to beat your ass. You know what I mean? That's just the way it should be. That's real freedom. It's the real freedom of being able to say what you believe in. That can lead to bad stuff. But censorship is worse and can lead to worse stuff. Censorship is how we really lose all of our rights. Once you start censoring what everybody says, we're really starting to go down a bad path. And, you know, the internet is not the same as the real world, but it's slowly starting to become that. That, you're not sticking to minerals as a topic. On the live chat, that's never really mattered much. We sort of go all over the place depending on what everybody's talking about. Since we're just chatting and I'm not carving right now. Yeah, but they're not trying to make... Hey, Druck and Shrouds said, yeah, like some actors, etc., they're 70 and still super witty. Yes. But an actor is not trying to make public policy. There's no reason we should have a fucking president who can drop dead at any moment. Like, we shouldn't have a president that can't run 5 miles. If you can't sprint, if you can't run a nice 5 miles, if you can't jog a nice 5 miles, you shouldn't be allowed to be a president. You shouldn't. Like, literally. We should not have somebody that's that fucking frail. Although, that's not really fair, because look at Teddy Roosevelt. That was Roosevelt, right? That, like, fucking got sick and lost his legs and one of the best presidents ever? Theodore Roosevelt? Yeah, I mean... So that's not really fair. That was a dumb fucking statement. Ignore that. Yeah, I see what you're saying with that, Druck and Shroud. That's that's not a bad idea. It doesn't stop people from acting like people. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be a different color for somebody to be prejudiced against you. You just have to act differently. You have to say that you don't believe like they do politically. Say you don't believe in their God and watch what happens to people, because this happens to me all the time, because I don't believe like a lot of other people, but I don't treat people differently because of their beliefs. I don't give a fuck about what you believe as long as you're not trying to make me believe it too. As long as you're not trying to stuff what you think is some ethereal reality down my throat, I'm fine. It doesn't bother me at all. But the moment where you want to try and force me to believe the craziness that's all imagination that you believe in, where there's no actual evidence, just based off of faith, I have a problem. I have a problem with that. Like, that's not what I'm usually anywhere for. I want to talk about a lot of things, and yet convincing me about stuff that you can't prove in any way, shape, or form, I'm not interested in. I'm just not interested in. Maybe I'll be interested in it when I'm 70. Because I know a lot of people that weren't religious their whole lives, and all of a sudden they start getting toward those elderly ages, and God start becoming real important, and then all of a sudden they're not helping their families out so much. They're making sure they donate as much as they can to their church. Even old people that are taking diamonds out of rings and then giving the rings to the kids and giving the diamonds to the churches, and people that have donated their family home that the kids all thought they were going to be like the family home even after the parents were gone, and then the parent dies and ends up that it's been left to the church. I mean, all that sort of stuff is a little bit scary to me on that one. It's not like I have anything to say in any of that, but anyways, I think it's about time to sign off, guys. I really appreciate y'all being here. I don't understand what's going on with the live stream, but it says it's still broadcasting, but the it says it's still broadcasting, but the text on the screen on mine is not showing anymore. It's like it's not connected. I can't see what anybody's saying unless I'm on my phone, which it works. You probably see me with my head down looking at my phone instead of looking at the screen right there. I'm going to sign off. Yeah, James, you're right about that. Facebook is horrible on all of that. Love y'all for watching. Thanks for being here. We talked for about 2 hours, and I didn't carve any stones. I have horrible shifts, like 5 p.m. to close, which will be 1 a.m. tonight, which is when I'll get out of there. And I got to be back at work at 10 a.m. the next day. Management training. Jeez. Love y'all for watching. Thanks for being here. And I'll have another video up soon. I'll get my production set back up and start doing some research in my free time. And I'll have another history video up soon, because they seem to be the ones everybody likes right now. Don't want to put up a bunch of videos nobody's interested in. And I love you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Yeah, you know what? You're sort of right, Archangel for Truth. I do need to start a church. That's actually a great idea. Maybe we will start a church. It'll have like lots of rave music, and it'll probably be on